What happens when a Hollywood icon known for restraint, grace, and quiet intensity suddenly feels pushed into a corner? On live television, with nowhere to retreat. The audience doesn't know it yet, but in a few minutes, they'll witness a moment that will ripple far beyond this set, far beyond this hour. And before we go any further, if you want more cinematic, explosive stories like this one, subscribe to the Narration Show right now, and don't forget to like and comment, because your voice fuels this channel. Nicole Kidman sits poised in her chair, legs crossed neatly, hands folded with practiced elegance. She's smiling, but it's the kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Years in the industry have taught her how to hold a room without saying a word. Across from her, Behar leans forward slightly, cue cards in hand, eyes sharp with curiosity and something else, an impatience that seasoned viewers of the show recognize instantly. The View audience buzzes with anticipation, sensing friction before a single spark ignites. The conversation begins harmlessly enough. Film motherhood, resilience. Nicole speaks softly, choosing words with care, her accent wrapping each sentence in warmth. The crowd nods along, but Joy interrupts, just a little too quickly, reframing Nicole's words with a sharper edge. So you're saying, Joy begins, that Hollywood didn't really treat you unfairly. You just didn't play the game? The air shifts. Nicole's smile tightens. Inside, a memory flashes. Auditions where she was dismissed, headlines that reduced her to relationships instead of performances, years of quietly proving herself again and again. She answers calmly, "No, I'm saying I learned to survive it." Joy raises an eyebrow, half smiling. "Some would say you survived just fine." A ripple of laughter rolls through part of the audience. Another part goes silent. Nicole feels it, the subtle sting of dismissal. Her fingers press together, knuckles whitening slightly. She inhales, measured, controlled. "Surviving doesn't mean it didn't hurt," she replies. Joy tilts her head. "But pain is part of the business, isn't it?" The question lands heavier than intended. Nicole glances briefly toward the audience, then back at Joy. The room feels smaller now. The cameras zoom in, catching the faint tremor in her jaw. This isn't just about a movie anymore. This is about decades of being misunderstood, minimized, spoken over. She leans forward. "Pain doesn't have to be normalized to be acceptable," Nicole says, her voice still calm, but something underneath is shifting. The audience murmurs. One of the co-hosts shifts uncomfortably, sensing the line being crossed. Joy, however, presses on. "But you had power, fame, privilege, a platform." Nicole nods slowly. "And expectations, silence, and consequences for speaking." The tension thickens. You can almost hear the studio lights hum. The smile is gone now, replaced by a raw seriousness that commands attention. Nicole's inner voice races. Do I let this go, or do I finally say it out loud? She chooses the latter. "And when I did speak," she continues, "I was called difficult, emotional, dramatic." Joy exhales through her nose. "Well," Nicole interrupts. The interruption is gentle, but firm. "Let me finish, please." Gasps scatter through the audience. Joy freezes, surprised. Nicole has taken control of the moment, and she knows it. Her heart pounds, but she doesn't retreat. "I'm tired of having my experiences filtered through someone else's comfort." Silence. The kind that feels dangerous. Joy leans back, arms crossing. "No one's filtering anything, Nicole. We're discussing." Nicole's eyes glisten, not with tears yet, but with something close. Discussion requires listening. The applause erupts unexpectedly, loud and fractured. Joy forces a smile, but her jaw tightens. The clash has begun, and there's no turning back now. The cameras cut to commercial moments later, but the energy doesn't fade. Backstage, producers whisper urgently. The audience buzzes, phones already typing half-formed tweets. Nicole sits still, breathing deeply, reminding herself she belongs here. When the cameras return, the confrontation resumes. Only now it's personal. Part 2 unfolds with Joy re-entering the conversation, her tone lighter on the surface but edged with challenge. "Nicole, no one doubts your talent," she says, gesturing broadly. "But aren't you projecting your own struggles onto an industry that's evolved?" Nicole blinks slowly. Evolved for whom? The question hangs unanswered. Joy shrugs. For women. For voices. Nicole lets out a small, humorless laugh. Not all voices are welcomed equally. The audience reacts audibly, some applause, some murmurs. One co-host nods subtly, another avoids eye contact. Nicole continues, her words now flowing faster, fueled by emotion she's held back for years. She speaks of contracts that limited her choices, of scripts rewritten without her consent, of interviews where her personal life overshadowed her work. Joy listens, but her posture remains defensive. "But you kept working," she counters. "You kept winning awards." "Yes," Nicole agrees. "And every time I did, I was told to be grateful. As if gratitude erases trauma." That word, trauma, hits hard. Joy's expression shifts. "That's a strong term." Nicole's voice cracks for the first time. "It's the right one." The audience falls silent again. Nicole swallows, eyes shining now. She doesn't wipe the tears away. She lets them exist. "I'm not here to attack anyone," she says. "I'm here to tell the truth." Joy leans forward. "And I'm saying the truth has many sides." Nicole nods. "Then let mine stand without being questioned." The clash is no longer sharp. It's emotional, raw, human. Joy sighs, rubbing her temple. "I think sometimes celebrities forget how lucky they are." Nicole straightens. "And I think sometimes commentators forget we're human." Applause explodes, louder than before. Joy opens her mouth to respond, then closes it. For a split second, she looks unsure. The control she usually holds so effortlessly slips. A producer's voice echoes faintly from off-camera, urging them to move on. But the moment has already etched itself into memory. Nicole sits back, trembling slightly, the release overwhelming. Joy clears her throat, forcing a transition that feels hollow. But the audience knows. Something real just happened. Part 3 deepens the emotional weight as the show limps forward, pretending normalcy while tension lingers like smoke after a fire. Joy attempts humor, but it falls flat. Nicole answers politely now, guarded, her earlier openness retreating behind walls she knows how to rebuild quickly. Yet inside, she's still shaking. She replays the exchange, wondering if she said too much or not enough. She notices the audience's faces, some moved, some conflicted. A few stand during the break to applaud her directly. One woman mouths, "Thank you." Joy watches this from her seat, expression unreadable. When the cameras catch her again, she sighs. "You know," she says, softer now, "maybe television isn't the place for all of this." Nicole turns to her. "Then maybe television needs to change." The studio erupts again. This time, even Joy can't suppress a small nod. The clash has shifted from confrontation to reflection. The co-hosts jump in, trying to bridge the gap, but the emotional core remains exposed. Joy speaks again, quieter. "I didn't mean to diminish your experience." Nicole meets her gaze. "But you did." The honesty stings, but it's not cruel. It's direct. Joy takes a breath. "Then I hear you now." It's not an apology, but it's something. The show wraps minutes later. Polite applause, forced smiles. When the cameras cut for the final time, the room exhales collectively. Nicole stands, hands still trembling slightly. Joy approaches her off-camera. Words are exchanged private low. No one hears them clearly, but the body language suggests tension easing, if only a little. Backstage, producers buzz with adrenaline. Social media alerts explode on phones. Clips are already circulating. Hashtags form. Opinions divide. Nicole steps into the hallway, leaning briefly against the wall, eyes closed. She didn't plan to be this vulnerable today. But part of her feels lighter, as if a weight she carried silently has finally been acknowledged. Part 4 begins in the aftermath, where the real explosion happens. Within hours, the clip dominates timelines. Headlines scream about the emotional clash. Some praise Nicole's courage. Others defend Joy's questioning. Comment sections become battlegrounds. Celebrities weigh in. Fans share their own stories of being spoken over, dismissed, told to be grateful instead of honest. The conversation grows bigger than the show itself. Nicole releases a brief statement later that night, measured, calm, thankful for the dialogue. Joy addresses it on the next episode, acknowledging the intensity without fully backing down. The moment lives on, replayed, analyzed, debated. Audience members who were there describe the electricity in the room. "It felt real," one says. "Like we weren't watching a show, we were witnessing something." And that's what makes it unforgettable. Not the shouting. Not the clash of egos, but the rawness of truth colliding with comfort, live on air. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Nicole right to speak out, or did the moment go too far? Drop your opinion in the comments, and let the discussion continue. Subscribe to the Narration Show for more intense, cinematic, and explosive stories that pull you right into the moment. And share this video with someone who needs to see it. The cameras return from commercial, and something in the room feels altered, like a fault line has shifted beneath the polished floor. The applause that greets them is hesitant, unsure of what it's applauding anymore. Nicole Kidman sits straighter now, shoulders squared, her expression composed but guarded. Joy Behar glances at her notes, then at Nicole, as if recalibrating her approach. The easy rhythm of daytime television has been broken, and everyone knows it. Joy clears her throat, forcing a light chuckle. "All right," she says, tapping her card. "Let's take a breath here." The audience laughs politely, but the sound doesn't fill the space the way it usually does. There's tension in the air, thick and undeniable. Nicole nods, offering a courteous smile that doesn't quite hide the storm still churning behind her eyes. Inside, she's telling herself to stay calm, to remember this is live, to remember the years she spent mastering restraint. But restraint has its limits, and she's already brushed up against them. Joy resumes, her tone conversational but edged with challenge. "You've talked about struggle, about being misunderstood. But from the outside, people see success. They see awards, influence, longevity. Don't you think sometimes that perspective matters too?" Nicole exhales slowly. She's heard this before, countless times in different words. The implication that success cancels pain. She tilts her head slightly, choosing her response with care. "Perspective always matters," she says. "But so does reality." Joy leans forward. "Reality for you may not look the same as reality for most women watching at home." A murmur ripples through the audience. Nicole feels it like a wave against her chest. She looks out briefly, meeting the eyes of strangers who are suddenly part of this exchange. "I'm aware of that," she replies. "But pain isn't a competition." Joy raises her eyebrows. "No, but context is important." Nicole's fingers tighten on the arm of her chair. Her voice remains even, but there's a sharper edge now. Context shouldn't be used to invalidate experience. One of the co-hosts shifts in her seat, glancing between them, sensing the escalation. Joy smiles thinly. "I'm not invalidating. I'm questioning." Nicole turns fully toward her. Sometimes questioning feels like dismissal. The audience reacts immediately, scattered applause, a few gasps. Joy blinks, momentarily thrown off. "That's not my intention. But it's the impact," Nicole says softly. The words hang there, heavy. Impact, not intention. Joy leans back, crossing her arms, a defensive posture she's slipped into countless times before. "So what are you saying, Nicole? That interviewers shouldn't challenge celebrities?" Nicole shakes her head. "No, I'm saying challenge us on our work. On our ideas. Not on whether our pain is justified." The studio goes quiet. The silence is so complete that the faint hum of equipment becomes audible. Nicole feels her throat tighten. She hadn't planned to say this out loud, not like this. But once it started, it feels impossible to stop. "I spent years being told I was too sensitive," she continues. "Too emotional. That if I spoke up, I'd be labeled difficult." Joy interjects. "That happens to a lot of women." "Yes," Nicole agrees quickly. "And that's exactly the point." Applause swells, louder now, more unified. Joy opens her mouth, then closes it, letting the reaction play out. When she speaks again, her tone is firmer. "But you kept working. You kept rising." Nicole nods. "Because I had to. Because stopping wasn't an option." Joy tilts her head. "Some would say that's resilience." Nicole's eyes glisten. "Some would say it's survival." A hush falls over the audience. The distinction lands hard. Nicole blinks back emotion, her chest tightening as memories surface. Late nights, lonely hotel rooms, headlines dissecting her personal life, smiling through questions that cut deeper than anyone realized. Joy exhales audibly. "You know," she says, rubbing her hand along the edge of the table, "television thrives on tough questions." Nicole meets her gaze steadily. "And humanity thrives on empathy." That line hits like a spark. The audience erupts, applause crashing through the studio. One co-host nods emphatically, another places a hand over her mouth. Joy sits still, absorbing the reaction, her expression unreadable. For a brief moment, it seems like she might pivot, soften. Instead, she presses on, though her voice is quieter now. "Do you think you're projecting your personal battles onto the entire industry?" Nicole's jaw tightens. This is the moment she feels the old reflex, to deflect, to smooth things over. But she resists it. "I think my experiences are part of a larger pattern," she says. "And pretending otherwise doesn't make it disappear." Joy frowns slightly. Patterns can be subjective. Nicole's voice trembles, just barely. "So can denial." The audience gasps. Joy stiffens. For the first time, irritation flashes openly across her face. That's not fair. Nicole leans forward, hands clasped now as if anchoring herself. What's not fair is asking someone to relive their pain and then questioning its legitimacy. The room feels electric. Producers shift behind the cameras. A stage manager glances nervously at the clock. This has gone far off script. Joy looks down at her cards, then tosses them aside. All right, she says, a sharp edge returning. Let me ask you this. What do you want from moments like this? Nicole doesn't hesitate. To be heard, without being dissected. Joy studies her for a long beat. And if hearing makes people uncomfortable? Nicole shrugs slightly. Discomfort is where change starts. Another wave of applause surges. Joy's shoulders sag just a fraction. She wasn't expecting this level of intensity. Not from Nicole Kidman, not on a daytime set built for controlled debate and quick laughs. One of the co-hosts jumps in, trying to lighten the mood, but the attempt falls flat. The emotional current is too strong. Nicole sits back now, breath shallow, heart pounding. She's aware of the cameras, the audience, the millions who will eventually see this. But in this moment, it feels deeply personal. Joy speaks again, slower. I hear what you're saying, she says, though the words sound carefully measured. But you have to understand, viewers see privilege. Nicole nods. And I see the cost. Silence again. This time it's different, not explosive, but reflective. Joy looks away briefly, then back. Maybe, she says, we're talking past each other. Nicole's voice softens. Maybe we are. But at least we're talking. The tension doesn't vanish, but it shifts. The clash has moved beyond sharp exchanges into something heavier, more complex. The audience senses it too. This isn't about winning an argument anymore. It's about what gets acknowledged and what gets brushed aside. As the segment edges toward its end, no one is quite sure how to land it. Smiles feel forced. Words feel inadequate. But the moment has already etched itself into the fabric of the show. And somewhere, beyond the studio walls, the first clips are being shared, the first reactions forming, setting the stage for everything that comes next. The energy doesn't reset when the cameras stay rolling. If anything, it grows heavier, like the studio itself is holding its breath. Nicole Kidman sits back in her chair, but the calm posture doesn't erase the emotions still flickering across her face. Her hands rest neatly in her lap now, yet her fingers tremble just enough to betray what she's feeling inside. She said the words she buried for years, and once spoken, they can't be taken back. Joy Behar adjusts in her seat, glancing sideways at the other co-hosts as if searching for an exit ramp that isn't there. The conversation has crossed into territory daytime television rarely dares to linger in. There's no punchline waiting. No easy pivot. Only the raw aftermath of honesty. One of the co-hosts clears her throat and gently tries to steer things forward. Nicole, your career spans decades, she says, voice careful. Do you feel things are improving at all? Nicole turns to her, grateful for the softer entry point. She nods slowly. In some ways, yes, she replies. But improvement doesn't erase what came before. And it doesn't excuse silence now. Joy exhales, folding her hands together. No one's asking for silence, she says, but the words sound more defensive than she intends. Nicole looks at her again, and this time there's no sharpness, only fatigue. Sometimes silence is what's rewarded, she says. You learn quickly which stories are welcomed and which ones make people uncomfortable. The audience murmurs, a low hum of recognition. Several heads nod. Joy notices it. Her eyes narrow slightly, not in anger, but in concentration. She's listening now, not preparing a rebuttal, but actually absorbing what's being said. You know, Joy says after a pause, television is a pressure cooker. Everyone's got an angle. Everyone's got a role. Nicole tilts her head. And sometimes those roles don't leave room for vulnerability. That word lands differently now. Vulnerability. The audience quiets again. Joy shifts, uncrossing her arms. I've been doing this a long time, she says. You develop armor. Nicole's lips curve into a small, sad smile. So do actors. For the first time since the clash began, a few people in the audience laugh, not out of humor, but recognition. The tension softens just slightly, like a clenched fist easing without fully opening. Joy nods once. Fair point. The admission is small, but it matters. Nicole feels it. Her shoulders relax a fraction. She hadn't come here to win anything. She came to speak, and somehow, against all odds, she's been allowed to finish. But the emotional wave isn't done yet. Joy leans forward again, her voice quieter, more reflective. Do you ever worry, she asks, that moments like this get edited down, turned into headlines instead of conversations? Nicole doesn't hesitate. All the time. The honesty in her answer catches Joy off guard. Then why do it? She asks. Nicole takes a breath, deeper than before. Because if I don't say it, someone else watching might think they're alone in feeling this way. The audience breaks into applause again, longer this time, sustained. Nicole blinks rapidly, emotion cresting dangerously close to tears. She looks down for a moment, gathering herself. When she looks up again, her eyes shine. Joy watches her closely. The combative edge that sparked the clash is dulled, replaced by something more complicated. I can respect that, she says softly. Nicole nods in acknowledgement. No smile, just acceptance. A producer's voice whispers urgently from off-camera, signaling time. The show needs to move on, but the moment refuses to be neatly wrapped. One co-host offers a gentle transition to Nicole's latest project, but even that feels different now, layered with the conversation that came before. Nicole answers the questions politely, professionally, but something has shifted. There's a fragility to her voice that wasn't there at the start. She's present but exposed. Joy listens without interrupting this time. When Nicole finishes speaking, there's a pause. Joy looks at her, then speaks carefully. I may challenge, she says, but I don't dismiss your truth. It's not an apology, but it's closer than anyone expected. Nicole meets her gaze. That's all I wanted. The studio exhales collectively. The clash hasn't ended with a winner or loser. It's ended with unresolved tension, the kind that lingers long after the cameras cut away. As the segment wraps, applause fills the room once more. This time, it's different. Not reactive. Appreciative. Some audience members stand. Nicole notices them, her chest tightening again, but this time with gratitude. When the cameras finally stop, the atmosphere changes instantly. Crew members relax. Producers step forward. Conversations break out in hushed tones. Phones light up with notifications as clips begin spreading in real time. Nicole rises from her chair slowly. Her legs feel unsteady, like she stepped off a moving platform. A staff member offers her water. She accepts it, nodding her thanks. Across the set, Joy stands too, speaking quietly with a producer, her expression serious. For a brief moment, their eyes meet off camera. There's no hostility there now, just mutual awareness. They've shared something unscripted, something real, and neither of them can fully control what happens next. Nicole steps toward the hallway, away from the lights. As she walks, fragments of the conversation echo in her mind. Impact over intention, survival over resilience, empathy over comfort. She wonders how it will be framed, how it will be judged. She wonders if she was too open. Then she remembers the faces in the audience. The nods. The applause that felt like understanding instead of noise. Behind her, inside the studio, Joy sits back down, quieter than usual. A co-host murmurs something to her. Joy nods slowly, staring at the table for a moment longer than necessary. She's replaying it too. The questions. The answers. The line that shifted the room. This wasn't just another interview. It was a collision of perspectives, broadcast live, now impossible to contain. And as the show moves on and the studio lights dim, one thing is certain. The real reaction hasn't even begun yet. The real impact begins after the studio lights dim, when the controlled world of television gives way to the uncontrollable surge of public reaction. Within minutes, the clip is everywhere, cropped, replayed, slowed down, stitched with captions that carry fragments of truth and sparks of controversy. Phones buzz nonstop. Notifications stack. What was once a contained exchange is now a global conversation. Audience members who were there describe it as electric, unsettling, unforgettable. It didn't feel like TV, one posts. It felt like watching someone finally say what they've been swallowing for years. Another writes, Joy pushed too hard. Someone else counters. That's her job. The comments spiral, thousands deep, lines drawn almost instantly. Nicole Kidman sits alone later that evening, shoes kicked off, makeup wiped away. The quiet feels unfamiliar after the intensity of the day. She scrolls through her phone cautiously, knowing exactly how quickly admiration can turn into backlash. She sees the praise first, messages from women, from actors, from strangers thanking her for saying what they never could. Then the criticism arrives, sharp and unforgiving. Accusations of being overly emotional, of playing the victim, of forgetting her privilege. She exhales, setting the phone down. None of it surprises her. This is the cost she understood the moment she chose honesty on live television. Still, it stings. Not because she regrets speaking, but because it proves her point. Across town, Joy Behar watches the same clips from a different angle. She hears her own words echo back at her, stripped of context, sharpened by edits. Some headlines frame her as insensitive. Others praise her for asking the tough questions. Joy leans back in her chair, arms crossed, jaw tight. She's no stranger to controversy, but this one feels different. Less theatrical, more personal. On the next day's show, the atmosphere is noticeably changed. The audience is louder, more alert. Joy addresses the moment without naming it outright. She speaks about debate, about discomfort, about how conversations don't always land cleanly. She doesn't apologize, but she doesn't dismiss it either. Viewers read between the lines, dissecting every pause, every inflection. Nicole releases a brief statement later that day. Measured, gracious. She thanks the audience for listening, emphasizes the importance of empathy, and refuses to escalate the conflict. The restraint only amplifies the impact. Commentators note the contrast. How her calm response deepens the weight of what she already said. Talk shows discuss it. Podcasts analyze it. Think pieces emerge, framing the clash as a microcosm of a larger cultural tension. Success versus suffering, questioning versus listening, intention versus impact. The moment is no longer just about Nicole and Joy. It's about who gets believed and who gets asked to prove their pain. Weeks later, the clip still circulates. It resurfaces in conversations about women speaking out, about media accountability, about the fine line between challenging and dismissing. For some viewers, it becomes a turning point. For others, a warning. For Nicole, it becomes a quiet marker in her career. Not a scandal, not a breakdown, but a moment of unfiltered truth. She's asked about it in later interviews. She answers carefully, never attacking, never retreating. "I said what I needed to say," she tells one journalist. "And I stand by that." The simplicity of the statement leaves little room for argument. Joy, for her part, continues as she always has, sharp, opinionated, unapologetic. But there's a subtle shift viewers can't quite define. She pauses a little longer now, interrupts a little less. Some notice, some don't. But the moment lingers between them, even when they never share a screen again. What made that clash unforgettable wasn't raised voices or insults. It was vulnerability colliding with resistance, live and unprotected. It was a reminder that sometimes the most explosive moments aren't loud, they're honest. And now, the question passes to you. Did Nicole Kidman cross a line, or did she finally draw one? Was Joy Behar doing her job, or did she push past empathy into dismissal? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is a conversation, and your voice matters. If you felt the tension, the emotion, the rawness of this moment, subscribe to the Narration show for more cinematic, intense, and unforgettable stories that pull you inside the clash instead of just showing it from a distance. Like the video, share it with others, and stay with us, because the next story might be even more explosive.